So today we're diving into Lumen Technologies, ticker LUMN, and they just announced something that caught a lot of people off guard. On October 23rd, they dropped news of a multi-year strategic partnership with Palantir worth over $200 million, according to Bloomberg sources. Now, when you hear Lumen, you probably think traditional telecom company with fiber networks. Not exactly the first name that comes to mind when you think cutting-edge AI, but that's exactly what makes this partnership so interesting. Lumen's taking their massive physical infrastructure, we're talking 450,000 route miles of fiber optic cable and edge computing locations across the country, and combining it with Palantir's Foundry and AIP platforms to offer enterprise AI services. This could be the blueprint for how traditional infrastructure companies transform into modern tech service providers. Quick heads up before we dive in. This isn't financial advice, just our analysis and opinion based on publicly available information. Always do your own research and talk to a professional if you're making investment decisions. Let me explain what's actually happening here because there's a really compelling story underneath the surface. Before this partnership was even announced, Lumen had already been using Palantir's technology internally for their own operations, finance, technology functions, and network transformation. And the results they got were impressive. They achieved $350 million in cost reductions in 2025, with Palantir being what they called a material contributor to those savings. They've got a target of $1 billion in expense reductions by 2027, and they're already ahead of plan. So this isn't some speculative bet on unproven technology. Lumen's seen firsthand that Palantir's platforms work and deliver real ROI. Now they're taking that proof of concept and turning it into a customer-facing business. The idea is to help large enterprises deploy AI faster and more securely in complex multi-cloud environments by combining Palantir's software with Lumen's network infrastructure and edge computing capabilities. What makes this partnership strategically interesting is the combination of assets. Palantir's got the AI software side locked down with their Foundry data operations platform and AIP artificial intelligence platform. These are proven enterprise tools that handle everything from data integration to AI model deployment. Lumen brings the physical infrastructure that's actually really valuable for AI workloads. That 450,000 miles of fiber connects data centers, enterprise locations, and edge computing sites across North America. Edge computing is critical for low-latency AI applications where you can't afford to send data all the way to a centralized cloud and back. Processing data closer to where it's generated makes AI applications faster and more responsive. Lumen's got edge locations already built out, they've got the fiber connecting everything, and they've got existing relationships with thousands of enterprise customers. Now they're layering Palantir's AI capabilities on top of that infrastructure to offer something their telco competitors aren't really doing. The $200 million commitment is significant for both companies. For Palantir, this is their 19th major partnership in 2025 alone. They've been on an absolute tear signing deals across aviation, healthcare, defense, contract management, data management, and now telecom. Each partnership expands their reach into new sectors and validates that their enterprise AI platform works across different industries. For Lumen, $200 million over multiple years is a serious investment that shows they're all in on this AI transformation strategy. They're not just dipping their toes in the water, they're committing major resources to build out an entirely new line of business. And given that they've already seen $350 million in internal cost savings from using Palantir, the ROI case is pretty clear. If they can replicate even a fraction of those results for enterprise customers, they've got a very compelling value proposition. That the strategic pivot Lumen's making is really important to understand. Traditional telecom is brutal. It's a low-growth, highly commoditized business where you're competing on price for basic connectivity services. Margins are thin, customer churn is constant, and there's not much differentiation between providers. Lumen Lumen's been struggling with declining legacy revenue and a heavy debt load from their CenturyLink days. They needed a way to reinvent themselves and tap into higher margin, faster growing markets. Enterprise AI services is exactly that. If they can position themselves as the infrastructure provider that makes AI deployment easier, faster, and more secure for enterprises, that's a completely different value proposition than we sell you internet and phone service. The CEO, Kate Johnson, said something that captures this by bringing AI into real-world operations through a connected ecosystem. We're empowering businesses to reinvent how they operate, compete, and grow. That's the language of a tech services company, not a traditional telco. Now let's talk about execution, because that's where the risk is. Lumen needs to take Palantir's technology, integrate it with their infrastructure, build actual enterprise AI service offerings, go sell those services to customers, and deliver results. That's not trivial. They're competing against AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, IBM, Oracle, and specialized AI vendors who have been in this market longer and have more resources. There's also a perception challenge. Will enterprises trust a telecom company to deliver cutting-edge AI services? That's not what Lumen's historically been known for. And while the internal results with $350 million in cost savings are impressive, translating that into a scalable customer-facing business is a different challenge. Customer adoption could be slow, integration issues could arise, and the revenue impact might take years to materialize significantly. But here's the reality. Lumen's still a heavily indebted telecom company trying to transform into a tech services business in a market where AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud already dominate. Getting enterprises to buy AI services from a telco isn't automatic. There will be integration challenges, customer adoption might be slow, and turning this into meaningful revenue could take years. The $200 million commitment is a serious investment for a company that's been struggling with declining legacy telecom revenue. But the combination of those proven internal results from using Palantir, a massive existing infrastructure footprint that's genuinely valuable for AI workloads, and a clear strategic focus on enterprise AI services, that's more compelling than most people probably expected from a traditional telco. If they execute well on this, it's not just good for Lumen, it's a roadmap for how other infrastructure companies can reinvent themselves in the AI era. But the combination of proven internal results from using Palantir, a massive existing infrastructure footprint that's actually valuable for AI workloads, $200 million in committed investment, and a clear strategic focus on enterprise AI services. That's a more compelling story than most people probably expected from a traditional telco. If they can pull this off, it's not just good for Lumen, it's a roadmap for how other infrastructure companies can reinvent themselves in the AI era. The partnership with Palantir gives them the technology and credibility to actually make it happen. The next year or two will tell us whether this transformation is real or just another pivot that doesn't gain traction. This isn't financial advice, obviously, and everything here is based on our analysis and publicly available information. You've got to do your own research and understand the execution risks and debt burden that Lumen carries, but if you believe enterprise AI adoption continues to accelerate and there's value in combining AI software with physical infrastructure, Lumen's partnership with Palantir is definitely worth watching closely. What stock should we analyze next? Drop your suggestions in the comments and we'll dive into another one. The more specific you are about why you're interested, the better. Whether it's a crazy news story you saw, a sector you're curious about, or just a ticker that's been moving and you want to understand why,